Hi, today we will demonstrate the ease of use of Rubrik Backup Solutions and NetApp Storage Solutions. So in this environment, it's a NetApp HCI environment. We have a Rubrik Backup VA Virtual Appliance running at this IP address. If we navigate to that IP address, we will see the beautiful Rubrik Backup user interface, in which we can see the status of current and past backup jobs, snapshots, status of the system, protection for different things that we have in this environment, including our SLA domains, as well as the current capacity of all tiers, including primary and archival tiers, and performance statistics and data efficiency for this environment. Now, how do we use Rubrik Backup to backup various things that we have in this environment? So let's start with virtual machines. First, for virtual machines, I can see all the VMs in this environment because I added a VCSA to this environment. I did not configure cluster-wide SLA, and the reason is I already assigned protection to certain VMs, and I do not have VMware tools installed on all the VMs, so I would have too many failed jobs if I did. Instead, I enabled SLA protection for the first two VMs that I have here, and we can see that for this one, which is found in the same vCenter, I have 8 successful snapshots. I can also see the past and current and scheduled snapshots and archiving actions configured or pending. This UI also allows me to take on-demand snapshots, which are extremely easy to take. I can pick a different SLA tier for the snapshot, and it takes mere seconds to schedule one. If I wanted to protect additional virtual machines, I could simply edit them and assign a specific protection tier, but I can also fine-tune them by excluding certain VMDKs, configuring application consistency, pre and post scripts, and so forth. So it's very easy and effective. Next, HyperV. I have a H615C, which is with the one with Tesla T4 cards, HyperV, and this Ubuntu virtual machine is the one which has data protection SLA attached. I did not attach one to the host, but there is one attached to the guest. So this guest is protected, and if we look at the history of his jobs, we'll see that actually we have one scheduled backup. We also have current backup going on, but then we also have failed jobs which happened because I did not read the documentation. As soon as I did, it took me 2 minutes to configure the host properly. So you can see that there is a checkpoint taken now, and backup is proceeding smoothly. I enabled guest services and allowed access to the Rubrik VA, so everything is working just fine, and it takes literally minutes. In fact, when we logged in, the in-progress job is the backup job that is running against this Ubuntu VM, which you can see here. At this point in time, it's about approximately 50% done and 50% remaining. So that is HyperV. We also can run Linux on NetApp HCI nodes. So I have here a H410C node that I added here by its IP address. I can go to this node to show you what it is. So it's an Ubuntu 18 node running kind of Linux virtualization environment. In order to make it simple, I didn't really install any VMs, but we can see here, this is the Rubrik agent that I installed on this node, and that was all that it took. Also, if I would have opened the firewall ports required, and then I can add this node by its IP, and I can configure what data I want to back up. So in this case, I created one quote-unquote file set. So the way I defined it is basically just the homes for users, which is essentially myself. I want to back up my home directory, and you can also exclude and explicitly include to override excludes, and as well as configure snapshots, pre and post scripts, and so on and so forth. So this is also really easy. It takes a minute to configure this host and looks to work just fine. Windows host, similar to HyperV, I configured the same host to protect its system volume. BFD is installed. I installed an agent similar to Linux and was able to add it by its IP address to host name. And last but not least, I also have one NFS Share, which is a sample to showcase how easy it is to add and configure backup of ONTAP systems, whether they are FAS or AFF or ONTAP Select. We don't have time to go through everything. One thing that I wanted to show is reports which look really beautiful, and I think give a great overview of what's transpired in the past period, and see the status of all the jobs in one place. Now, going back to these SLAs, one thing that I wanted to point out is archival policy, which you can see in the center of the screen here. So each SLA can have it configured. The way you enable it is you edit the policy, go to the next step where you can enable archiving, and then decide which destination you want to use. Now, these destinations, they're configured in settings under system configuration, archival locations. So here you can see that one is configured and there's been some incoming and outgoing traffic. So this S3 compatible location is located on this StorageGRID system here. There's a license warning because it's the free license for under 5 terabytes, which is good enough. So this cluster is running in virtual machines on NetApp HCI. We have one admin, one gateway, and 3 storage nodes. Grid admin has created one tenant, and now this tenant, who might be data protection administrator, he will log in and he would have a simpler UI in which we can see there is 52 gigs used, which corresponds to the amount of data archived to StorageGRID by Rubrik. So this UI is much simpler than the overall grid UI. Basically, there are really two things that we would need for Rubrik integration. One is to create a bucket, which is the same bucket configured here, and the other one was to create access and secret keys for the use by Rubrik Virtual Appliance Administrator. So bucket prefix or kind of bucket name is the same what we can see here, and then credentials, HPLQ, correspond to the credentials used or set by this archival location. So it's very easy to integrate, and you can see that if you look at the past 24 hours, there's some activity, especially at this point when we backed up the Linux virtual machines. So I hope you like this walkthrough, and I'm quite impressed by the beautiful interface and ease of use of this Rubrik backup system. Thank you.